Hey, this is Jason Morris with Real Estate Agents That Really Work, and I'm on the phone here with Michelle Roaya. She's another EXP agent with us that's down in Houston, Texas. So, Michelle, I tell you, I'd like for you to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I am a native Houstonian. I've been with EXP for almost a year now. I was with a major company before that for training reasons, and just decided that I like the way that EXP works and the fact that they're so technology based. It's in, I guess, my generation, so it really fit what I was looking for. And I am a mom of a 4-year-old, so that keeps me pretty busy as well. Single mom, so
Oh, wow.
trying to juggle everything. Yeah, and do real estate and real estate investments, and actually I'm working on my very first official flip. So we are approaching the end of the flip, and I'm crossing my fingers to have it on the market by the beginning of May and hopefully sold faster. So we'll see.
Wow. So now, let me get it straight, because I know a little bit about your story because I stalked you out on Facebook, and then we exchanged some messages before setting up this call. So you're a single mom with a 4-year-old. You're doing your first real estate flip, but you're living in the house also.
Right. Yes, I am living in it. Now, originally the plan was that I would move into it right away, right when I acquired the property. I have a business partner who's a little, I guess maybe he's watched a couple of those episodes, like Hate It or List It, or, all these fix and flip shows.
Flip This House.
Yeah, Flip This House. He just wanted to get just break something. So he decided to go into the master bathroom floor and start breaking ceramic tile. So it became a little bit of a hazard for my son to be there. So he pretty much threw a wrench in the whole thing. But I've finally been in it for about a month now. And we've had it since about the end of February. So it was just, being worked on in the meantime, and I was bouncing from La Quinta here to there because my lease was up at that exact moment when I acquired the property, so it was going to be a smooth transition.
Yeah.
But it didn't end up
turned
that
out
way.
not so smooth. So let me ask you, so you got a 4-year-old kid, so are they in school now, or do you have daycare? How do you?
Actually, no. I homeschool my son. He's 4. It's just one. I only have one son. I try to make everything that I do kind of work around his life, because I knew that when I had him, I was also a nursing student at UT and had him in daycare, and really just did not like the fact that I was missing all these moments, and somebody else was pretty much raising my child, which I don't judge. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, but it just didn't fit the kind of life that I want for him and for us. And so he's very much the helper. I mean, for example, this morning we got him a little tool set. I mean, he knows more about Black & Decker and DeWalt and all these tools than I do sometimes, and he really does enjoy doing these things with me and being mommy's helper. And of course, when it comes to certain times where I cannot take him with me, or, for example, I had a listing consultation a few days ago, and so I just have to work around his schedule. If I know that he's going to be napping, or if I can, my mother also lives with me, so she's disabled, but she's able to help out here and there. So I just left him with her and went and did the listing presentation and got the listing and came home, started doing the computer work, and, just make it work.
Yeah, just make it work. And I've heard that a lot when I've talked to other agents that are in have similar lives. That's what they say. They just make it work. So what does your typical real estate day look like?
Well, I'm trying to get some sort of order to it again because of the fact of moving around and moving being one of the most stressful things ever on top of renovating your home. And it's pretty much we completely, I would say, gutted the whole thing. Every room is practically new. So including a 55,000 gallon pool, which was a swamp before we actually cleaned it, and now it's looking like a normal pool. But the day-to-day is wake up, check emails, go outside, do some make sure that everything is looking good, yard work, and then start making calls. I like to get to the gym at a certain point just to have him, have some activities and some change of scenery, and then it gives me time to do things like this, like, get on the phone. And once I get back to the house, I have another appointment, so I'll be getting ready for that and heading out to them. And let's see. So I have to stage a property today that's going to be going live, so I'll be doing that later this evening once he's asleep. And oh yes, no problem. Sure, no problem. Sorry. And then once he goes to bed, I just work on my computer, inputting things into the MLS, checking on my listings, sending out reports to my clients that I have listings with, and just kind of doing the regular day-to-day stuff during that time. But once he's asleep, I tend to do the fun stuff also. So later on in the evening, because I do a lot of the tile work myself, and for example, we're laying down a Versailles pattern in the foyer of this house, and so I have to lay out the pattern. It's not something that really works with a 4-year-old, so I have to wait till he's asleep. And so that's pretty much my day. The full one.
No kidding. So you basically do real estate. You do real estate and you do homeschool, and then when that's over, you work on the house you live in.
Right. Yeah.
Man, that's a busy, busy day. What made you want to get a flip that you actually lived in, or try to flip a house that you're living in?
Well, my lease was up, so I thought it actually would have been, when I presented it to my partner, it would have been okay to just keep it as a long-term investment. So I would have just continued to rent it as I renovated it. But then we decided that just based on the market right now and the way that we're making it look, and so we decided it would be better to just go ahead and list it. But if I'm living in it, then I don't have to consider, let's say that it stays on the market, 4 months more than what we've budgeted for, I'm going to have to pay rent somewhere. So why not pay rent towards, bringing down the payments, and it'll help with the net profit at the end, because it's money that's going into the same property. It's not like an empty property where you're just paying a mortgage or paying all these costs, holding costs. So I thought it would just be smarter for me.
It doesn't make you guys motivated sellers.
Well, we are motivated because there's money that's been invested. So we're definitely motivated sellers. It's more of like a just in case kind of a thing, because we've pretty much reached our budget. We've reached our deadlines are approaching, and so everything is going on track for what we're trying to do. And I'm trying to get my money out of it so I can get another property to invest in, and eventually become an international agent and start working on properties in Costa Rica, which is where my mother's from. So I'm half Costa Rican, and I want to go to Costa Rica and do some sales over there, and
that is very cool. So what do you think the biggest challenge was with doing your first flip here?
Well, one of the biggest challenges has been the situation where business partner went in and broke the tile, because it added an additional cost. So I had to pay for moving my mother and my son around until we could figure something out. And then the second biggest thing is finding somebody who's a good penny tile installer. Like, we had 2 crews come in, you know, with these beautiful, gorgeous penny tiles, and they promised they could do it. It was going to look amazing. You know, I'd seen pictures of their work. They came recommended, and when I came and saw it, you know, it was awful. It was like one of those pictures that you see on, you know, what not to do when you install tile.
Oh,
Horrible.
man.
So, second crew came in, attempted to do it again, and then finally they did such an awful job, even worse than before, which I see that it's a difficult thing, but I don't think it's, you know, that much different than mosaic tile. Or it's just it takes a little bit of more precision, you know, and I don't think that people that are in a rush to get paid, sometimes they're not really watching. And since I wasn't there, living there, I wasn't able to see, because that was another reason why I wanted to live there, so I could really effectively project manage.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't there at that time. We pulled it all off, and now
That's the hardest thing. Like, when I've done projects and I've been involved in flipping properties and rehabbing properties and stuff, and I've been involved in a lot of it, is there's really like 2 kinds of contractors. The ones that are really good and show up on time and do exactly what they're supposed to do, and it looks like what it's supposed to, we probably can't afford them. you know?
Right.
And then the guys that, you know, fit our budget and stuff, we're going to, you know, hopefully they do work that's passable, you know. Sometimes it's not perfect, but at least hopefully it's passable. But then you got to deal with all their stuff, you know, all their issues. They can't come today because their cars broke down, or, you know, I had one. I'll tell you my nightmare subcontractor story real quick. So I had this guy, he'd been working with me a while. I was really, really dependent on him, and I had a lot of stuff going on that, you know, like had to be done kind of stuff, you know. I had like some tight deadlines with some rental property and people moving in and stuff, and he'd apparently gotten, well, it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. My phone is blowing up from an unknown restricted number, you know. And finally I answered, because I don't get many calls at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, other than, you know, every occasional friend and, you know, family member, my mom, stuff like that. So I answer the call. It's from the Horry County Jail. And so apparently he went to a bar, and I don't know all the details, but he got in a fight at the bar, and he got beat up pretty good, you know, and he was drunk on top of it. So the cops show up and stuff, and of course, it was his word against like 5 other people's words, because, you know, they were all buddies, and he was he was not the local bar friend, you know, that was there every night. Right. And so he's drunk, and he's trying to explain to the cops, and he starts screaming at the cop. Next thing he knows, he gets tased down. He gets tased, and then he gets arrested. And, you know, like, I grew up, my dad was a contractor, and I'd seen him deal with stuff like this growing up, and, you know, employees getting arrested and stuff, and I was like, I'm never going to deal with that. And then he calls me, and I'm like, oh, shit, I got to have this stuff done in the morning. So,
oh, no.
So I ended up having to go bail him out of jail and all this stuff, because I had to have stuff done. So I went, and I had to figure out the whole bail bondsman process and all that stuff. And man,
wow.
then I guess at the peak of my buying and selling property and representing clients buying and selling, at one time I felt like I was dealing with so many subcontractor issues that were similar. I had a bail bondsman that I had her number saved in my phone. We were like a first name basis, and it was like I would call, and she'd like, yeah, so who do you need out of jail? And she'd just go bail him out and let them or me bring her money later on. Our relationship was basically a bail bondsman line of credit, I felt like, you know. so I'm one of the only realtors I know that had a line of credit with a bail bondsman, you know.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but this is just the first, so I may have to call you for some pointers on that.
Oh yeah. I've seen some crazy stuff. I had guys working for me one day, and this one guy, he shows up, and he's got a flip flop on one foot and a shoe on the other, and both of his eyes are black, and he's got on sunglasses, and they're black around the sunglasses. And I go, my God, man, what happened to you? And he goes, man, of course he gave me this noble reason why he had to fight a guy at a bar. And I said, well, man, did
Yeah.
they pull you apart? And he goes, yeah, somebody jumped in and pulled me apart. And I go, thank God, he was about to kill you. And I looked down at that time and I go, dude, what happened to your foot? All of his toes were black. So I don't know if this guy stepped on his foot, but all his toes were broken. He couldn't wear a shoe. And I'm going, Jesus,
Oh.
are you guys going to be able to work today? I mean, are you guys going to be able to work? You guys, I mean, all of them are beat up. I don't know if they fought one another or what the deal was, but yeah, subcontractors are always fun. That's why, and there's always some insane story dealing with them. I feel like, and like I said, either if they show up and they do a fantastic job, we probably can't afford to use those when we're flipping properties. That's the guy you want to use in your permanent house that you're going to live in for the next 10 years. Looking for things that just to stay under a certain budget, man, it's tough to find those people. So how did you end up finding like the first people that did a really bad job and then finding the second people?
So, somebody who I've been working with who is also in the real estate investment game, I guess you could call it. He's a pretty good contractor, and he had some recommendations. So, I mean, I went into this project considering myself, the project manager. So I figured, let me give someone an opportunity so I can watch the process from a contractor's perspective. And see exactly what they do, how they acquire their guys, where are they looking, what are they looking for? Because when I get into something, whether it's real estate photography or, any part of whatever I'm learning, I'm going to try to learn it as well as I can so I can eliminate the person not the person, but if I need to take that responsibility, I can confidently do it and not have to worry about, being dependent on a contractor. So he had his database of people that he had worked with before. So that's how we got the first groups of people. I had the guys downstairs in the master bathroom, with some pretty extensive tile work. I mean, and they just accomplished it so smoothly. Everything went well. They really listened. I also speak Spanish, so that helped. And the contractor actually does not speak fluent Spanish, so I was more present during that time and making sure that they were measuring things, because I find that a lot of times these tile people don't really take into consideration the measurements or the details. And so that's where I was kind of positioning myself to where I could really focus on the details once he had his crews in there. And then eventually it became, okay, I'm going to hire the people myself, or let me save us $5,000 and install the flooring myself. So that's where we are now. And luckily my son's father actually is in the business of granite, marble, mosaic. So I've been around it for several years, watching the process happen, watching how they install it, discussing finishes with him and stone types and what works and what doesn't and his expertise. And so I used a lot of that knowledge and that prior experience to teach myself how to do whatever job needs to be done, getting dirty, and like just doing it. So the next flip, I'll definitely I'll need to see more before and after pictures from anyone that I'm working with. I'll need to probably be able to call at least one or two references, just because, anyone can say they've done amazing things, but the proof is in the pudding. So this time I will be the one to review the work and previous work and, just ask more questions. I kind of left it up to him, but not anymore.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I think this is a natural progression for a lot of agents to go from real estate agent to to investor, home flipper, that sort of thing. I think it's a natural progression. I think that a lot of agents, see clients doing it, and I don't want to say they get jealous, but they see a client do it and go, "Oh my God, I sold them that house," and they didn't paint carpet, and they made, they turned around and sold it and made, $25,000, on a $75,000 house. I think a lot of agents will see things like that, and then once they get to a certain level in their business or life or whatever, they go, "Hey, I want to give it a try." That's I don't want to say it's the next step, but for a lot of agents, that's the next step, is to buy that first investment property. So how did you find the first house?
Well, it was actually kind of backwards for me. I had been assisting, like I said, my son's father's in the business of tile, granite, anything you would need to build a house. So he took a lot of advice from me when he was buying real estate for flipping or for, rental purposes. So he kind of I got my feet wet during that time frame, and while I was in nursing school. But then I proceeded to get into just real estate so I could learn the transaction side. And how I found this particular one was actually a listing appointment through a wholesaler that I work with. So if he can't come up with something or do something for them, then he typically refers them to, different agents depending on what their specialties are. And so I'm a short sales and foreclosure specialist. And so he referred him to me, and I was going to list a property for him. And then upon speaking to him further, I realized there really wasn't an option to do that. And I tried to, pitch it to different investor networks and see who would want to do it as maybe, a rental property, or because it could be a great long-term investment. But nobody, once they saw the pool, it being one of the largest pools in the Champions Forest area of Houston, they didn't want to touch it. So they just, for some reason, were scared or just didn't think the numbers made sense. But I was really fortunate to be able to pull some, savings out and get a partner and just say, okay, well, I'm trying to sell this to someone else. Let me just take it and show everyone that passed on this how great of an opportunity they passed on, so the next time they can see, hey, you know what, let me take this one seriously.
Yeah, hey, this girl knew what she was talking about. And you're in Houston, too. So my understanding about Houston is the market is just on fire there.
Yeah, I think there's pockets of different areas where you can find really good deals, and they go really quickly. So it's just a matter of being in the right area or right subdivision at the right time, or finding that, motivated seller or the distressed property or whatever the case is, and being able to find a way to creatively finance it and make your money, but also not taking advantage of anyone, because that's another really important thing for me is even if someone's in distress or even if someone, is desperate, I feel like they are a part of this project as well. And so I structured it to where at the end, if, we meet certain numbers, then he's going to get a bonus for it, and the owner, because I would just hate to be in his position and see that someone profits so greatly from, my 10 years or 16 years paying this house off, and because of whatever circumstances, I lose my equity in it. So that was something really important for me too, was just making sure that I'm not taking advantage of anyone.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So you've got all this going on, and then you're doing general brokerage. Now, let me ask you, in today's market with everything picking up, what's going on with the foreclosures and short sales there?
Well, there's still a pretty good inventory of foreclosures. Short sales I don't really deal with too much just because I'm not a fan of the process. Foreclosure is a little bit easier, bank owned sometimes. It just depends really in the area that you're looking for. You can find some areas that are really saturated with foreclosures, but there's other areas where it's, it's one or two properties there. They're available, but they're not as negotiable as they used to be, I feel like. So, when we're submitting bids or we're submitting contracts to the banks, they're not, they've always been, they've always had a reputation for not being the quickest to answer or respond, and, you're waiting on pins and needles, but there is inventory there at this point.
Yeah. So I got like two more questions for you. Number one, so you're going to be hopefully you're going to be getting rid of this house soon, and you're going to be looking for your next investment property. What have you done on this first one that you're going, I will not do this again on the next one?
I will not do penny tile ever again.
Penny tile, let me ask you, what exactly is that?
So it's like the little coin-looking tiles. So instead of it being a square, mosaic square on a sheet, it's like little circles. So it takes a detailed eye to make sure that the lines are not visible where you're meeting each sheet, and also that the circles are, it's symmetrical. It's not lopsided. And I'll send you a picture of the work that was done both times. And I think you'll get a kick out of it because
please do.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
I always find, what I always find, like one of the things that I've talked about doing was doing like these same sort of formats, but looking for people that just had bad stories to tell. Instead of good stories and success, I want to hear about their bad stories. Because it's interesting. I think we all learn from those.
Sure.
I've got plenty of myself, and the good transaction or the good property that you buy and sell, and you didn't have to do nothing but go in and vacuum. You tend to forget about those, but when your contractor, when the contractor doing work with him, you got to bail him out of jail so that you can get the place painted, so that you can get the place rented out. You remember those stories. Or when your subcontractor shows up and he's wearing a flip-flop because all his toes are broke from a bar fight the night before, you tend to remember those things a little bit more, and you're going, oh, man, I should have screened better. I should have, that guy that gave me the price that was $300 more, I should have used him. We wouldn't be dealing with this. Or the contractor, my favorite is, you hire somebody to do a job for you. It's going to be like a day or two job, and before they even start, they call you and want to know if they can get gas money. And you're going, wait a minute, I've bought the materials. I've done everything you want. Now you need another $50 for gas money. I've had that before too. Or they need a ride to the job site. That's one of my favorite ones too. Can you pick me up?
I like the one where they say, we can't start this one because we just got another one. Like, okay, well, you should be a little bit better at your planning because this, we already have a contract, we have an agreement, you're set to start tomorrow, but now you're saying you just got another job, so you're going to take that one. Or, like things like that, not being able to really accurately schedule or estimate. So I definitely will take that position over in the next one and keep away any demo materials from my business partner, and no access to him to the property prior to whatever situation is going to happen, and everything being outlined clearly, because he had a little too much fun. But he's a pharmacist by trade, so I think he has some pent up stress from work,
anger and frustration.
And he's like, I just want to take a sledgehammer. I want to do something. I want to break something. So he just picked the wrong thing to break.
So any of these agents are looking to make this transition that you're in the process of, or the transition that you've went through, with your first investment property, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would just say that, run your numbers, make sure your numbers make sense and you're following the market. Make sure you're keeping tabs on, I would say maybe monthly, make sure that you're staying on track with what your comps are supposed to be or what your estimated sales price will be. And you're never going to stay on budget. You can try, you can only try. And the main thing I would say would be to get your estimates and all your inspections done ASAP. Soon as possible. So first thing, even before, you start anything, just make sure you have everything that you're going to do already ready and in line. And that'll just make the whole process smoother.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, I really appreciate you doing this with me today. So if somebody out there listen to this, they're interested in talking with you more about it, they have some questions, maybe they're interested in buying their own investment property in Houston, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, you can, this is going to sound cliche, but you can Google me. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm very active on social media just by searching my name, Michelle Rukny, Rukny. I also have a YouTube channel where I'll be posting the process. I've been videotaping it this whole time. So I'll be posting the progress and all the craziness that was happening at the time. So you can pretty much find me there or give me a call. I don't know if I can give my number or how that
go
works,
ahead.
But
Sure. Give your number.
281-881-7442. And I'd be happy to give you any advice that I can. I mean, I'm no professional. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm an expert. I am a professional, but not an expert, but I can help in any way that I can.
You know all about penny tile. You can answer any questions about penny tile.
No, I've decided I am going to master penny tile, and then I'm going to be one of the only people in the city that can do it. So my prices might be a little high, but it'll be worth it.
That's awesome. Hang on just a second for me.